they represent the nature of God on the earth, and God is love. So I put it on the Israelites and the people in the Old Testament of the flesh that compelled God to have to speak the warnings and the judgments
Mm-hmm.
because of their hard-heartedness and their commitment to walk away from the Lord.
Yeah.
But God is love. I don't want it. I don't want anybody to think that, if there's a harsh word given by a New Testament prophet, a rebuke, it's
Yeah.
out of love. It's out of love. It's a warning saying the fruit of your flesh is death.
Yeah.
Romans 8 says, if you walk in the flesh, it will lead to death. And
Yeah.
so a New Testament prophet, part of his job description is to warn people away from the flesh and the death that it brings.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I have no problem with rebukes coming from the prophetic in the New Testament, even
Mm-hmm.
though we'll probably talk about 1 Corinthians 14, that prophecy is encouragement and comfort and edifying. It
Mm-hmm.
does not eliminate the reality of we have to, and Paul did it, especially with the Galatians. Let them be accursed
Yeah.
if they preach any other gospel.
Yeah.
He was
We'll
prophesying to them.
Yeah, we'll get to 1 Corinthians 14, because if it weren't for 1 Corinthians 14, there would be nowhere in Scripture to turn to produce the idea that prophecy is meant to be encouraging and comforting. That's literally the only place that I know of where we see that presented, because the examples of prophecy in the New Testament, the actual living examples we see, are not that way. The examples are Paul being warned that he's going to be arrested, imprisoned, and martyred. They're examples of the church being warned there is a famine coming and y'all better be storing up food and getting ready to take care of one another during a really difficult time. But before we go there, if we just stay in the Old Testament, which gives us the most examples of the gift of prophecy and the career of prophets. I mean, Isaiah and Jeremiah have the longest probably careers of any prophets in the Bible, because their ministries, what's the word? They lasted for years and years and decades, but their lives didn't end well. I mean, Isaiah probably was torn apart by Hezekiah's wicked, evil son, Manasseh. Jeremiah's life was, like you said, what did you say? He was squeezed through a pigeonhole or something? I mean,
he got pulled through a knothole. I mean, the tribulations in his life were way, way too overwhelming for someone like me to be able to handle.
Their lives were brutal.
It was.
It's the spirit of self-sacrifice, of selflessness, of being okay with being unpopular, and of martyrdom. If we're being honest, I mean, that you want to carry the spirit and the mantle of the Old Testament prophets. Be prepared to be a martyr, because that's how most of their lives ended. Just like that's how almost all the lives of Jesus's disciples ended. This idea that true prophecy or the prophetic gift leads a person to being popular, successful, lots of pats on the back, everybody loves what you have to say all the time, is like totally different. And Jeremiah actually, I think, in part warns people against becoming prophets because of how difficult it is.